Hey everyone, welcome to our Power Hour this Wednesday, May 27th. It's so hard to believe that we're at the end of May already. This year is really flying by. And I am so excited because today I asked my friend Cindy Landis, to join us to talk about really to talk about like just how she builds this business with Partner Co. So Cindy I'm going to let her tell you her background because it matters. Her background in business and in life matters, and it is probably a huge reason, which was why she's doing what she's doing now and drives her with how she's building this now and how she positions talking about it. So everyone comes into this. I'm just going to say just this little bit, and then I'm going to have Cindy take over. But everyone starts in a different place. I started by I saw a post and I am a product driven person. So the product made a difference for me. So then I started taking a look at the business. Cindy is more her whole journey in this industry started because she needed a business. She needed an additional income stream. So I'm going to let her share just her story and as much or as little she wants to share, and just how she does this now with Partner Co. Because what I want you to know is that there are a lot of Cindy's out there. I mean, there is only one Cindy Landis, but
Yes.
and she's so amazing. There is only one Cindy Landis. However, there are a lot of people who think with a similar mindset, work with a similar work ethic as Cindy, and that's what I mean. And so so a lot of times we have in our mind that this is only for this type of person, and when you talk to Cindy, I believe it opens your mind and your mindset to see, oh my gosh, this is really for so many people. So Cindy, I'm going to let you take it away. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, Anne, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on your team call. You have such a team of leaders. It's amazing. Your whole team is so impressive. But Anne, you can guide me anywhere you want to go, but I'll just start by telling you guys how I ended up in the industry because I think that's part of what Anne wanted me to do. And so feel free to jump in and like I said, Anne, interrupt at any time you want to remind me of something. But basically, some of you've heard my story. Well, I grew up in a small town, actually. The town is still not a town, it's a village because it has less than 2,000 people in it in the state of Ohio. And I mucked barns, baled hay, milked cows. My mother and father both worked for the government and we were pretty much lower middle class, I would say, but my mom said if you want anything, you have to work for it. So I actually delivered newspapers, and I tell you that because people hear the success side, but they don't know the back end of it. And it is kind of important to talk about. Everybody's journey is different, but so I delivered newspapers at the age of 13 in Ohio, which it snowed and it rained, and my mother said it doesn't matter, you still have to go. So I'd ride my bike through the snow or the rain and go deliver newspapers, and I did that for a long time. Then when I was 15, I worked at an ice cream dairy shack, they called it, with ice cream cones. And then when I turned 16 and could drive, I was so excited I got a job at McDonald's. So just like most people's journey, I started pretty much a normal journey that a lot of people take. And from there, I always looked for the next step up, the next thing that was a little bit better. So I went from McDonald's to a fancy Italian restaurant as a server. So I was a server in a restaurant, and I was in high school, and the tips were a lot more than I made at McDonald's. So I kept learning that you move step on step. What a lot of people don't realize is I dated my high school sweetheart, and I did start in college, but dropped out of college to start a family. I got married and started a family and I do not have a college degree. So a lot of people assume I have some college degree for all my business background, but I didn't. So like many people, that was my path. So I ended up in the medical field. I was actually a surgical assistant, an x-ray tech, an EKG technician, and a phlebotomist. So I did all of those things back in the late 80s. It was easy to get certifications in those things. So I would just go certify in them. You didn't have to go have a college degree. So I worked in the medical field, worked in the emergency room, worked for a doctor, ended up in marketing through the doctor, through the Heart and Lung Center I worked for, ended up becoming his director of marketing, and he sent me back to college. So he sent me to college to get a little bit of marketing, but not a degree. I just took marketing courses, turned it over, ended up a long path, but ended up into marketing. Had a big mentor that I met who showed me how to do things for myself. So I owned my own small retail business. I had four young sons at the time and owned a little retail store. I made gift baskets, handmade every bow, and did that very, very well. Then a lady bought my business out, and I had a non-compete with her later. I actually ended up working for her, and my clients were Tropicana, the Atlanta Braves, some pretty big clientele that she had. When Honda came out with a new car, she made $1 million. So to me, I was never around that kind of money. And I was like, wow, that's insane. You know, she lived in the same town I lived in, and I was so impressed, but she taught me a lot of things. Well, when I went to leave her, I went to leave because the job was too demanding and I had four kids playing little league and I couldn't do it. I couldn't be everywhere she wanted me to be and be the mom I wanted to be. So I had a non-compete and there was two things I could sell. Actually, there were three things I could sell. The non-compete was so good for 3 years that the only three things I could sell or market were cars, insurance, or real estate. I couldn't see myself selling cars or insurance, so I went into real estate, debated it, went into real estate, but I took what I learned in the marketing world and the people skills she taught me and went into real estate. So I fast forward, I say all that, it has nothing to do with Partner Co. really, but it's how I got here. So I ended up in real estate and was rookie of the year my first year because I took my marketing skills and went against the grain, and everybody said you can't do that. Realtors don't do that. Realtors don't do this. Realtors don't do that. This is a long time ago. And I did it anyway. Not because I knew it would work, but it worked in everything I was taught from the other lady. So that led to me ending up buying my first real estate franchise. I owned Remax franchises, and I ended up with four of them over the time. You start with one, and then they convince you need a second one, and then they convince you need a third one, and then a fourth one. And the reason they convince you of it is because, to be honest, it's a lot of work, and you don't make that much. You don't make as much money as people think you make owning them. You still you can make more money selling real estate, honestly, than owning them until you get enough business going, enough people working, or depends on the type of business and the overhead and things like that. So I end up in that world and I threw myself all in. So I had worked hard for everything I had. I bought these businesses and altogether, by the time I had four of them, I had $1 million invested in real estate offices. So when the offices, I poured my heart and soul in them. I had my family, and I was with them all the time. Never missed a baseball game. Was always there for my kids. But I also worked from early in the morning till late at night, and I did that for years. 20 years I did that. I taught real estate pre licensing courses at the local college, and I did all these things. It was very busy. And I honestly thought that's all I would do for the rest of my life. But during that time, I sat on boards. I was on TV. I was on commercials and billboards and radio, and I was on all these things. And in a pretty rural county area of Ohio. And when all that stuff was going on, every single person I knew that was in network marketing brought me their network marketing business. So I'm getting there in a second. It's a long way around, but I want you to understand that people that you meet, you don't know where they come from, what their background is, right? Or how they got there. And it sometimes is important to the story. So I get there, I'm in this, running these offices. I have a lot invested. I have a huge overhead in 4 offices. And I have a lot of responsibilities. My commissions over the years went from 3 million paid out to 6 million a year paid out in commissions to 9 million a year paid out in commissions. So my offices were growing. I was had a lot of money running through them, and everybody wanted me to look at their network marketing business. So some of you know, and some of you have done it. You go and you say, Cindy, they would say to me, Cindy, I respect what you've done so much, and I always looked up to you as for your business background. And I just want to share with you a business that I'm doing or an opportunity I have, or they would word it somewhere, but it would be very similar. And so I laughingly say that because when I didn't know anything about network marketing, but I did know a lot of people that dabbled in it. My mom had done Tupperware when I was young, when I was a kid. And so I knew a little bit about it,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't really know much. So what happened was I would say, I don't have time to look at your business, but if you just tell me what your number one product is, I'll become a customer. So I told Anne when I talked to her, told her this story before, I literally owned every product ever sold by every network marketing business known to man. I'm exaggerating that, but it did feel that way. Like I said yes to everything, and some of them I loved. I really truly did. Like I still love Pampered Chef stuff. I just love it. I don't know, but I never did it. So nobody ever talked me into enrolling in their business because I would be like, back off. I'm a serious realtor. I own business here. My mind set was that you could not make serious money in this kind of business. I didn't know what I didn't know. So, from my perspective of the people I knew that dabbled in it, even my mom back in the Tupperware days, or the Avon lady who lived down the street, they made a little extra money. They weren't rich, they didn't have fancy cars, they didn't have anything. So, in my mind, it was just something that people did for a little extra side money, a little extra money. And I'm in a big business now. So I have to worry about employees and important things. I don't have time to dabble in some silly business. So fast forward, reality sometimes slaps you upside the head, kicks you in the rear end, and says, ha, so you really thought that you were all that in a bag of chips, right? Well, I didn't, but I did, right? You kind of don't know what you don't know. So um, '07, January of '07, I'm broker owner of the year for the state of Ohio for Remax. December of '07, the same year, my offices are losing 10,000 a month each. Almost $40,000. I was losing about 36 to 38,000 a month because the real estate market crash hit us very quickly in my area. And Remax specifically, if you're with Remax or you're a competitor of Remax, I'm not bashing Remax. I had my good years and my bad years with them. But if you were with Remax, they had a very specific kind of structure that Remax specifically lost 50% of their agents, of the real estate agents nationwide in 1 year, in 12 months. 50% of all of them. So if you owned Remaxes, you lost 50% on average, some more, of your agents because they couldn't pay you anymore. They weren't selling real estate, they weren't making any money, and therefore they couldn't pay their bills. There was no money coming in. And guess what? If you owned them, guess what you still had? Overhead. You still had employees, and you still had offices and utilities and contracts, and you still owed your franchise fees because yes, you buy them and then they charge you every month for what your quotas need to be. So I was losing all that money, and so I started just paying it out of my savings. Mind you, I have 4 kids still in school at the time. So I'm paying it out of savings, doing all this stuff. And this keeps going. It went on for months, and you think a couple more months it'll have to get better. It didn't. As everybody knows, it really went about to 2011 or 12 before it started really coming out of it. But prior to that, I was almost 2 years into this cycle, and I was desperate. I'll be honest. I had pulled everything out of savings. Every time I sold something, which was few and far between, I put the money straight back into the company, and I was literally bleeding money every day. And so I made tough decisions. The first person I laid off was my mother because she was technically retired from her previous job, and my other ladies, three were stay at home, or not stay at home, single moms. So I literally took money out of my household to pay their bills for a couple of years. And I was just in this vicious cycle. I was depressed. I just thought everything I've ever worked for and all the money and all the effort and all the years, everything, it's just going away. So I ended up with my financial advisor, which I would talk to him every couple months. And I've known him since I was 11. He's still one of my dearest friends, and I trust him with everything. And I said, Todd, what am I going to do? What on earth am I going to do? It's over. Like I'm about to file bankruptcy. I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose my cars. My kids are going to be homeless. Like I'm just worst case scenario. Everything's going through my head. And I'm like, I can't, I'm working 80 hours a week just to try to keep it together. And it's not working. And he said, I think you should look at a direct sales company. And I said in a very loud, stern voice, are you freaking crazy? Are you freaking crazy? Have you seen my bank account? Are you just want me to you think I need an extra $500? That was my attitude. I went off. My mind, like I literally lost my mind. I was just like an angry, vicious woman. And dear friend of mine, but I thought he was nuts. And he said, calm down, calm down. Listen, he said, I have three clients that I've had for years. They've out earned you every year, and they're in that industry. They make a lot more than you do. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. I'm like, what kind of money? And he told me, and I'm like, I almost didn't believe him, but I trusted him, but I almost didn't believe him. So then he says, here, I want you to talk to this guy. He didn't do network marketing, but he knew people who did. So he connected me to a couple that he thought maybe I could use it to bridge the gap. So I end up going and seeing a presentation. And when I did, I didn't have any extra money anyway. So I didn't take my wallet with me. I didn't take back then you could write a check for it. I didn't take my checkbook, and I didn't take a credit card, took no way to pay for it because they weren't going to sucker me in. But it took me 2 months to go see it, and he just kept hounding me. So I went. And it was a little crazy hairdresser from Kentucky, talked funny, and she said, um, or I found out she was making like 35,000 a month. And I thought, that's impossible. I mean, that's impossible. She's making 35,000 a month. That's exactly what I need to keep my businesses afloat. It's like about 35,000 a month. So I end up joining that company, but I didn't have any way. Well, I wanted to, but I didn't have a way to pay. I get back and I have a little DVD that I stuck on the side of my computer when I got back that was going to show me the presentation. And lo and behold, it was Todd Rowland. And it was Todd Rowland doing a presentation. And the person that introduced Todd, in hindsight, and nowadays, the person that introduced Todd is actually a guy named Travis, who is now my husband, which has nothing to do with any of that. It's just things ended up there years later, many, many years. But I ended up in that business, and I went hair on fire. Why? Because I met people very quickly like Todd Rowland. Todd was making 250,000 a month at that time in that company. And I met more people like him. Ken Bailey, Susan Frank was making $1 million a year in that company. So a lot of you are downline from Susan Frank. So I met all these people, and I'm like, I don't even have my top agent doesn't make anywhere near what these people make.
Mm-hmm.
So I jumped in, and the rest is history, as they would say, because here's why. Because not only did I save myself in about 6 months, saved myself from bankruptcy in about 6 months, I ended up being able to keep the business long enough to merge it over and sell off parts of it to people because I chose to go here full time in this industry. I own other businesses on the side with partners and stuff that I get just invested in. But the reason why and the difference, and then I'm going to tell you how I do this. I don't want to hog it all up with my story, but it's important that you know that the reason somebody like me said no before, and the reason I said yes later, and the reason I'm all in now is because we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. What I didn't know, right? And now I understand it. But it was bigger than that to me. You see, I taught real estate and I realized, and Tim Sales has a video on this if you've never seen it, you're 11 times more likely to make $100,000 a year in PartnerCo, specifically PartnerCo, than you are in real estate. 11 times more likely. Think about that. And I taught realtors how to go make 100,000 a year or more, right? That's part of what I prided myself on. So I came over here and I think it's what really shifted in my mind is how could I go back to that when I know there's a better way? Because 20 years of selling real estate, I don't have anything that residually pays me.
Mm-hmm.
And 12 years in really the previous company that was part of this and this company, even though I didn't build it big at first, I still have customers from 12 years ago that I get paid on every month. That's crazy, right? I mean, that's crazy to me. So that's how I ended up here. And now what I'm passionate about is getting people to understand. I love the products, by the way. They've helped me. They've helped my health. They've helped my family's health. I think we all have those stories. We all get in here for different reasons. And like you got in for the product. You
Right.
got in because you saw a post. For me, I got in out of desperation. I came over here with Todd and Susan and Ken and Chris Doyle. Chris is my sponsor here, if you guys know Chris Doyle. And I think that what happened here, or why I'm so passionate about this, is because every single person who's in PartnerCo and every single person who's not, I feel a passion that they need to understand that if you will treat this like your regular business or job, even I'm not saying quit your job, but if you will treat this the same way you would treat any job or business, it will pay you, it can pay you more than any job or business. And that's coming from somebody who had a business that paid out 9 million a year. And by the way, that business fully recovered. I mean, I could still be selling, I could still be doing that, but I chose not to because I saw the differences in those.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm passionate about sharing it as a business. So that's really my passion is that there are a lot of people in this country, well, around the world, not just this country, but around, definitely across this country, who are struggling. They don't have enough money at the end of the month to
Mm-hmm.
cover everything. The first comes around and all their bills are due and they're in a panic because it's all going to be gone in a blink of a few clicks of your mouse paying bills, right? So to me, it's more important that we understand that it's a real legitimate business because that's what I didn't know. That's the whole moral of the story is that I went a long way to get there, but it's kind of important to see that everybody's journey is going to take them through differences. And mine is hard work. Every single thing I did, and I think Todd mentioned that this morning if you were on the IPA with Habia, everything you do is hard work. I mean, being a mom is hard work for everybody on here who's a mom, right? Being a spouse is hard work. Um, but,
You're so
right?
funny.
Well, it can
No, it
be.
no. It's
And
what
I
it
love my
is
husband.
that what it is that anything worth it in life takes
Yeah.
commitment, right? It takes commitment and focus and persistence, right?
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
and so I think Anne, and you can talk about it. I mean, I talk about the highlights. Really in this business, and there's so many people on this Zoom right now on your team and that know it so well, who've done so well in this industry. But it really is about figuring out what works for you as far as your schedule, your methods. Not everybody can be on the IPA calls because they maybe have a day job, right?
Right.
But it's finding out what works for your life, works into your life, but treating it like a real business and not like a hobby. If you're here as a hobby, just something to do, and you just want to dabble in it, that's fine too. I don't have a problem with that. We love everybody at whatever level they want to work it, but if you want it to be a real business, it's not just Anne that can succeed, right? It's not Buffy. It's all of you. It's every one of us, and it's not because I own businesses, right? The only reason that I succeed is because I go for it. That's it on anything I do. It has nothing to do with I'm smarter than anybody. It has nothing to do with somebody gave me something. It has to do with the fact that when you have a need or you see a desire, you have a passion to go do something, you just put your effort in it, I think.
Mhm.
And Anne, is there anything specific you want me to cover or
So
is
I first of all, I love your story, and I love that you shared all of it from the time you were delivering newspapers in the snow and the sleet and the rain and the wind and everything that came through Ohio, um, and and also just for I think it's just really important for people to have that perspective of like what you've done and what you've accomplished and how you basically what you needed. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I am going to say this because I've heard your story a few times now, and that your friend Todd, who is your financial planner, your financial advisor, whom you trusted,
Mhm.
said, Cindy, you need to take a look at this, right?
Right? That's right.
So what for me the lesson is not, oh, I need to go, like, do we all need a Cindy Landis in our business? Of course we do. But unless you have the relationship with Cindy Landis or you have the relationship with Cindy Landis's best friend,
Mhm.
you might not ever get access to a Cindy Landis. I mean, that's really the reality. And so that's why it's important for us, like Habia talked about this morning, to be our authentic self, to build relationships with people, because you never know who your Todd is going to be that says to their friend that's like Cindy, oh my gosh, you've got to go talk to Buffy. Oh my gosh, you've got to go talk to Millie. You've got to go talk to Billy. Like we all like, so that's why building the relationships are so important, and for people to understand. And then Cindy's going to talk a little bit about like just how she builds her business, but it's really important for people to understand that you're building a business. You're
Yeah.
not just that you're not This isn't just a new season of Avon, right? This isn't just a new season of Tupperware. This is a business, and you're creating a reoccurring income. And how it is significant, and we are really at such the beginning. So oh my gosh, Laura said that you inspired her. She said she did the napkin presentation with a multimillionaire in her world, and she thinks he's going to sign up today. So
Wow, that's
that's
amazing.
amazing. So what's exciting is that we have the opportunity to learn from Cindy, and so I'd love for you to share. You know, we all know, like, we're just going to assume everyone knows and has been taught and trained how to do the system of growth on social media. We're not
Right.
talking about that. We're talking about when your insurance agent is like Cindy and they want to create an additional income stream, or it doesn't matter, like, regardless of the person's background, if they see the value in creating an additional income stream, that's really what we wanted to kind of talk about today, um, because it's so valuable. So I'd love for you to share some of the stuff that when we were on that call last week that you were talking about, like with franchises, like how expensive they are, right? A
Yeah,
lot of people don't understand like how was a franchise for you, and
right.
what you had to do on your, like, when you signed that contract on that dotted line, what you had to do, what you had to produce.
Exactly. And this is such a good point. So when I bought a franchise, I actually was looking for business to get into. I was very entrepreneurial at that point and wanted to do that many years ago. Ended up with Remax franchises, but I looked into other franchises as well. What's the point of a franchise? Well, it's a system. They already show you how to do it. You still have to do it, but it shows you step by step to do. So when I look at Partner Co., I look at it very much like it's a franchise-like business. That's how I refer to it. We cannot say it's a franchise because it isn't. It's not legally a franchise, but it's a franchise-like business. And so we have systems. It could be the system of growth. It can just be the fact. Really, when you buy a franchise, some of it's they just provide you branding. What do we have? We have incredible branding with Partner Co. They provide you marketing material that you can white label. Guess what we have? We have a Share app with a ton of marketing material that's as good as Apple or Nike or anybody else's marketing. I mean, it's good marketing. And then we have a company that does all the research, the development, they do the shipping, they do the logistics. So that it really is similar to that. All we have to do is we have to bring the people in and do the systems that are already put in place to get it going. So I look at it that way. But when I'm building with someone like a business person or anyone in that matter, I will try to refer to it that way. Somewhat like Dr. Laura said, that we have, when I talk about a napkin presentation, not everyone can do one right off the bat. So I wouldn't suggest you just go out there and randomly talk to successful people with a napkin presentation if you're not ready. But really, all the napkin presentation is conceptually, it's a discussion that dumbs it. When I say it dumbs this down, it actually classes it up a little bit. We try to make it to fit into a certain box. And so all I try to do is give the highlights. So what are the highlights? Well, the highlights are that it's a franchise-like business. It operates basically online. You have an online store, right, where products can be bought and sold through your online store. It's a $400 million debt-free company that has a 50-year written plan to become a multi-billion dollar company. And the industry it's in is a $6 trillion industry going to $10 trillion. And so what we're doing is we're getting a group of people together and we're going to position ourselves on the way from 6 trillion to 6 trillion. There you go, right? 6 trillion to 10 trillion. It's a big number. Or from 400 million to 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion for the company. And we're just going to position ourselves, take our piece, our slice of that pie on the way up. And so by getting in now and putting together a handful of franchises or a handful of sales teams, you can look at it either way. Depends on who I'm talking to, how I would refer to that. And I'll break that down in a second. But we're just putting people together. And by the way, whoever I'm talking to, I always say, and by the way, don't even question the products because you will not find products of this level and this quality with this kind of backing and, clinical studies anywhere in any of your stores you're walking in on. You're not going to find them in GNC or the Vitamin Shop. Now, we're not really supposed to talk about other companies. This is a training, so I'm talking about it. So I wouldn't do that necessarily in front of a room, but one-on-one with somebody, you can have that conversation if you know them, especially, right? These products are good because they'll do a business even if a product's mediocre, depending on the product. But it does help if they know that you've got a good product, you've got great marketing, you've got position in the you've got position in the industry, right? And it's a industry on the growth. So they just, do you want a piece of it or don't you? It's that simplified. So when I say dumbing it down, we simplify it. It's a better word. It's not dumbing it down, it's simplifying it to make it less complicated. Quite frankly, we go through a whole array of slides and we talk about this and we talk about this. Let's just first talk about what it is in general. This is generally what it is. And then what we do is we build sales teams, or if you would rather refer to them as little virtual franchises with other people that want to position themselves in this industry on the way up to 10 trillion. And so then what we do is we go out and we find these people, and everybody's moving a little product through their business, just like any storefront would. We're going to introduce the product to friends, family, people on social media. Some people have big social media followings, follow the system of growth. They move a lot of product. And as those products are sold, that's our sales team. As we hit certain numbers on each of our sales team, the company bonuses us. We can earn so much per week. So I just kind of make it simplistic. That's how regular business works. When I
Mhm.
sold businesses, that's how it worked. I sold businesses, and if it was a flower shop, hey, on average, you get this many during Mother's Day, you have your peak. During, wedding season, you have this peak. During Christmas, you're selling wreaths. And you just break it down to a simplified business process. And so that's all I do. I just simplify it and make it look like a legitimate business because guess what? The secret on that is it is a legitimate business. That's the secret. It really is. So I just make it feel that way instead of making it feel cheesy or icky or, like we're hiding in your closet and we're going to jump out and start drawing circles. Some of you know what I'm talking about on that. But anyway, so I just take it that from that point. But I also tell them, and I'm going to tell you this is what Anne wanted me to go with. So I am a nerd. People don't realize I am a very big nerd, actually. And I did a bunch of research on franchises and franchises that were um, close to what we do, similar to what we do in the sense of this GNC and the Vitamin Shop. The one that's just right on the top of my head is the Vitamin Shop, so I'm going to use this. And this is just so you understand what you have your hands on and what you're offering to people when you offer them a business like this. So a the Vitamin Shop is the name of the franchise. They sell for 40,000 on average for the franchise for the first one you buy. And that doesn't sound like much. That's the franchise fee. Then they cost on average $150,000 to build out. If you're in a high-end area, it could be up to 250, but anywhere from 125 to 250 on average 150. So you're now at 190 for your build out and your franchise fee. You're going to pay a franchise fee every month back to the company on all of your sales. You need to, of course, hire a manager. You're probably not going to work it yourself, right? You're going to hire managers and employees. You're going to have legal, attorneys that protect you, insurance that protects you, all of these things in place, signage, everything like that. The average Vitamin Shop franchise or franchisee that owns a franchise, each location on average makes $125,000 a year. Okay, that's their profit. That's on average. Some make less, some make a little more, but 125,000 a year. But in the franchise agreement, and when I sign my franchise agreements, they're about this tall of papers. And so buried in that franchise agreement with the Vitamin Shop, you have to open 10 in 3 years. You also have to have a $750,000 net worth with $250,000 liquid cash in the bank to buy a Vitamin Shop. Okay, so let's think about it from the whole big picture. So the reason that they say you have to open up 10 locations in 3 years is because it takes you 10 locations to make $1 million a year. But now you have 10 locations of employees, 10 locations of managers, 10 insurance policies, 10 people that, something falls off the top shelf on their head and gives them a concussion, you're sued. Trust me, I know. I can tell you some stories on that one. But my point is that in any business, including the ones I owned, you have to look at it from what's the overall end result when you buy something like this. So now I'm telling you, Mr. Millionaire, Mr. 200,000 a year heir, Mr. 60,000 a year heir, right? Whatever you make, that you can own your own virtual franchise like business that is better products than most people are going to find in a GNC or the Vitamin Shop, proven because they've got all these certifications. They have 215 published clinical studies. They have 100 and some peer-reviewed studies per product practically, and they're just great. And we have a head of our science, Dr. Plant, came from Harvard. And you could just give the whole list of why, right? And so you're saying, guess what? You don't have to go have $750,000 of net worth, if you can come up with $30, we can get you started, sell some products, right? And if you're wealthy or you already have money, I suggest you come in at Ultimate. You don't want to mess around with that. Guess what? You can get array of stuff, or you can get products to sample out, or you can have products to sell. And so I look at it as a comparison. We're not, I want to say this since this is a training call, we're not technically allowed to stand up in front of a room full of people and give that true comparison. I'm telling you as a training for yourself because, and I know there's a lot of you on here who've done this industry for longer than I have, even, and you know that certainty and belief is a huge, huge portion on if you succeed here or not. And so what I'm telling you is compare it in your own mind. Go do your own research if you don't trust my numbers, but I assure you that I'm right on that. Think about it from that perspective. So maybe you say, well, but John Smith down the street doesn't know anything about it, about nutrition. Why would he want to own a vitamin shop or a GNC? I assure you that if you go check out the majority, and I would say the vast majority of owners of the vitamin shop, they know nothing about nutrition. Okay. I mean, that's not their background. They're business people and they go down through franchises and they go down through business and they say, what do I want to own? Oh, I could own 25 Subway franchises. They might not even eat carbs, right?
Right.
They're vegetarian. They don't eat any of it. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. That's business. I know that for a fact. People buy companies all the time with no background in them. So you just have to train your mind to the products are great. If you lead with the business, like Javia said today, and you're doing social media, do that. That's a product kind of driven way that she did it. And that there is nothing wrong with that. It works 100%. It's why a good chunk of you are here today. But also don't leave out the business side. And like Dr. Laura said, she went and she thinks the guy's getting in. They're not going to jump in that minute and say, oh, take my money right here. They may want a couple samples. They may want to talk about it. They may want to say, well, I don't really have time. I'm running this big successful business, or I'm doing this, or I'm a doctor, or I'm this. And you say, that's okay, because I am doing it full time and or my team is, and we're here to help you. All you need to do is schedule a couple calls where you can get me in front of some people you think would like to go build one of these businesses. We'll put them underneath of you and we will get this team going. And that's really how I look at it with people, because you want to get to more people.
Mm-hmm.
And Todd, and as you said, Todd, my financial advisor, Todd, right? He knew me, but the couple that he introduced me to, they did not know me, right? They did not know me. And he wasn't even doing it. But if he had not introduced me, I would not have ended up on their team. Chris Doyle didn't know me. I was on his team in that company. I was on Todd Rowland's team. They did not know me. So we want to get to people and make it a win-win. Win for them because we're going to help them build a little sales team. We're going to help them do it, right? They're going to introduce us. We're going to train the people. If they don't have time, if they're a big business owner, they do not have time to do this, and they can't be on all the calls like you guys, like some of us can, willing to be. So hopefully that answered that, Anne, and made
Yeah.
sense. Or anything else specific?
No, I think that, no, I just wanted people to, I think it's really important to learn from people like you that have had a different background and came in kind of in a different way to the industry than probably a lot of the people on our team have come into the industry. And to know that it's not either or, it's both and, right? Like we really can have, and I mean, honestly, I took notes the last time you talked about the comparison with the vitamin college. I took notes again, and it's mind blowing.
It
You
is.
know what you have to. It's mind blowing, and this is what I think. This is the other thing I do want to say to all of you is that if someone, yes, someone has to obviously have money to go and start a franchise, right? But they do have to have, or they have to hire someone to do a lot of work to keep that franchise running and growing, right?
Right. Yep.
and all the hiring and all the things. So what I love with what we have is we're chances are we're all very passionate about the product.
Yes.
And so we have what we have at our fingertips is, I mean, and then the other tidbit that you said at the beginning, that we're 11 times more likely to earn $100,000 here with Partner Co than we are in real estate, ever in real estate, right?
Mhm. That's right.
So you guys, what I love is that I hope what, at least for me, these are like my takeaways, is that we really are, we're looking for people who are, like-minded and want to create that additional income stream, right? They want to help people get healthier. And, you know, probably the biggest piece, and I'll ask you this, Cindy. Um, well, okay, so I'm gonna ask you this. So when you were building with real estate, because I think I know the answer, and when you owned your franchises, um, did you have to work on yourself?
Constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
in order to be a business owner,
Mhm.
you have to work on yourself, whether you're doing that as a franchise owner of Remax, whether when you were just doing being in real estate, you know, and here, like that's part of the equation. And so that as you're doing that, you're going to grow your business, right? Because you're growing yourself,
Yeah.
and just what an important piece that is. It really is an important piece. It's not just numbers. It's not just, um, it's part of the equation. You know.
And I was actually not good at this industry when I started. I was desperate. There's two different things, right?
Yes.
I had
Yes.
to get better. I was a horrible presenter. A lot of people say, "Oh, you present so well." I was literally a horrible presenter. I cannot explain it, but I was bad. Like it was bad, bad. And so, in live presentations, a nightmare for the first, I don't know how many times. Of course, I got better, right? Because
Right.
I had no choice. That was it to me. I had a financial decision to make, and my decision was stay uncomfortable and keep doing it. And that's where a lot of people quit. It is work. They don't want
Right.
it to be work. They want it to just be happen. And it is, if you want to go do something, anything in life, it's a little bit of work, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay, so that being said, what did you do to improve your presentation? Did you look at recordings? Did you ask a mentor of yours to give you feedback? Like, what did you do besides
I
practice?
Yeah, back then I did practice on occasion, but what I did was I watched those little DVDs over and over. So I watched the recordings. Back then it was DVDs. It wasn't even on,
Yeah.
right? We didn't have
You mean
Zoom
like,
yet.
so you watched like Todd Rowland doing a presentation? Yeah.
Yes. I watched like three different people's presentations over and
Yep.
over and over. And it got to the point where I had them memorized in my head.
Yep.
So slides were always the same. So I didn't try to get creative. I just went through it and then added my personality,
Yep.
added a little bit of who I was, added a little bit of my story to it.
Mhm.
But I kept the presentation the same over and over and over, and eventually got comfortable with it. Part of it's getting comfortable with it. Part of
Mhm.
it's belief in yourself. Part of it for me at the beginning was belief in the industry. I was
Yeah.
hopeful. I was hopeful. That's why I said the belief is important right now, because you're hopeful. I see other people doing it, but was that a fluke? Was that just,
Right.
once a couple people get lucky, right? In your mind when you first start, you don't know.
Right.
You don't know. And then you realize, oh, it's like everything else. If I apply myself, listen, I became rookie of the year in real estate my first year in. I knew nothing about real estate,
Right.
but I quickly said, what do I have to do to make it successful? And I just repeated what they told me. I just
Yep.
listened and did and did and did again and did again. And that's all I did. I mean, so it's the same thing, right?
Yep.
It doesn't really
Yep.
matter what it is you do. You just do it
Yep.
over and over till you get good at it.
Yeah, I want to say something real quick because
Yeah.
I did exactly. I mean, that's what I do. And I know you guys might want to plug your ears for a moment, but here's the thing. In medicine, we see one, do one, teach one.
Mhm.
And that's the way we were trained
Yes.
going through in my entire years of training. And so literally, even surgery, like I would see a surgery, I would replay it in my mind constantly, and then I would go do it. Like, and I know some of you probably don't want to hear that, but I did exactly what Cindy Landis told us on the napkin presentation. It's on Todd Rowland's YouTube channel. You should go do it. And honestly, all I did was listen to it over and over. I took notes because that's the way I learn. If I write it down, I can remember it. I repeated it to myself 5 million times before I met with this guy. I was I was scared. I was for sure scared to even ask, you know, but I knew him personally, and I didn't realize how big he was, how big his business was. That he had a $58 million business that rapidly grew. He was the number one guy in our area in Ohio in terms of businesses, and then it came crumbling down, which I had no idea about any of this. All I knew is that God had placed his name in my heart. I prayed for I prayed for who do I need to reach out to. I didn't want to do it, but then I thought, he may need this, and he does need it. And
Yeah.
he saw the vision. Now, it wasn't instant. I just met with him yesterday morning, and he's like, his wife's a nurse, and he really wanted his wife on board. His wife is not on board, guys. So
Yeah.
it's not like I'm not magically, I just
Right.
doing exactly what Cindy Landis said to do. That's all I'm doing. And he's texting me saying, I'm 100% in. My wife is not. I have this meeting, important meetings today. I'm going to call you after those meetings today. And because all I did was send him like I didn't try to convince his wife or try to convince them that we need to convert her or anything like that. All I did was say, well, let's just get you going and sign you up and let me build it for you. That's all I said,
That's it.
because he was in for that. And she'll come along. She will. Probably. So, I mean, he said he was 100% in. So, I- we'll see. But, you know, it's not done until it's done. And, I just think this is the kind of thing you all have to do. You have to step out when you're scared. You have to do it anyway. You have to work in the dark when no one's watching you. You have to get better. Like I wasn't perfect at this napkin presentation, but I remembered, and this was going through my head because Cindy has said this more than once on multiple calls. She has said it's your posture, it's
Mhm.
your belief, right? It's how you are presenting yourself. And I just kept thinking, that's all I've got to really worry about. I'm not going to get it perfect. What I'm saying, it doesn't matter. It didn't matter. I skipped a couple things I really wanted to say, but it didn't matter. So you all should, it's and both, like Anne said, we attract people through our product and the way we do our business, but we also should have these direct reach outs. And I would just encourage you all to do it. And it's the belief and the energy that gets you the appointment and has them thinking, maybe this is for me. And also, it's a legitimate business.
Yeah.
It is. And
I mean,
I want to say my last two enrollments in this past week have been they've been customer conversions from products. So I don't only do that. It is both, right?
Right.
You do both. You do
Right.
both. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
So
I love
yeah.
it. Well, Cindy, you're a gift. Thank you for doing this for
Thank
us.
you for inviting me.
And I think we all learned so much and took notes, and we will re-listen. And thank you, Laura, for popping on and sharing. It was great. I'm excited for you. And
Me
just,
too.
so much of what this is about is that we really just are here to help one another, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we're better together. And I want to say this in closing. You see teams connect like this or do trainings for each other or work together on projects or at events or something like that. But I think those of us who understand business, I know for this company to become the multi-billion dollar company I believe it will become, it takes a lot of it takes all of us to have success.
Yeah.
Not one of us. Not one team. It takes a lot of teams, not just two teams, not just three teams. It takes a lot. And there's power in that. So when we all start seeing a lot of success, that's when our name, the brand, the partner co name becomes a household name. That's when it becomes easier to close people in or people to want to buy the product. So it's important that we help each other because we are better together. And in the end, we all will be rewarded for it. I believe that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much. We
Thank
appreciate you. And I'll share the recording with you, Cindy. Thank you so
I
much for doing
appreciate
this. All
appreciate
right.
you.
You
Thanks
guys
everybody.
have a great week and summer Black Fridays tomorrow. So exciting. So, all right, you guys. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you,
Thanks, Ann.
Cindy.
Thanks, guys.
You.